Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the fighters, not even Blueface himself. After 3 long years away from the ring, he stepped back in like a king returning to his throne. Everyone expected a comeback story, smooth, dominant, a straight-up reminder that this wasn't just a rapper. This was a problem in the ring. But what actually went down? Straight chaos. It all started with one moment, one viral clip that exploded across the internet like wildfire. A clean hit, a stumble, and then Blueface got sent flying out of the ring. He says it was just a push. The internet, they're not buying it for a second. Fans slowed it down, zoomed in, dissected every frame, and came to one brutal conclusion. He didn't get pushed. He got rocked. From that exact second, the entire fight flipped. The energy shifted. The rapper who walked in as the heavy favorite suddenly looked like he was just trying to survive. But the real madness, it didn't happen inside the ropes. It exploded right after the final bell. Seconds after the loss, standing in front of the crowd, the cameras, and the man who hosted the whole event, Blueface dropped a bomb nobody expected. One statement, one accusation. And just like that, a boxing match turned into a full-blown internet war. Now the conversation isn't just, how did he lose? It's, was this fight even fair? And once that question hit the timeline, everything went nuclear. To understand why this moment hit so different, and why the fallout got crazier than the loss itself, you gotta go back to how we even got here. This wasn't some random pickup fight. This was supposed to be a statement. When Blueface announced his return, the hype was through the roof. People still remembered his last performance, the knockout power, the confidence, the way he moved like he belonged in there. He'd been sparring with elite names, Floyd Mayweather-level conversations, high-level work. So the narrative was already set. This was just a warm-up, a quick tune-up to shake off the rust before the real big-money fight that was already being promoted. Tickets were selling, marketing was rolling, everything was lined up. Then things got messy. The original opponent fell through at the last minute. Reports say Blueface's sparring wasn't looking right. So instead of a balanced matchup, he got thrown in against a streamer making his boxing debut, Chibu. On paper, easy work. In reality, a nightmare. Because while the opponent was new to the ring, he brought something Blueface wasn't ready for, non-stop pressure. And then there was the weight. The Blueface people remembered was a lean, fast middleweight, around 157 pounds. This version, he came back as a full-blown heavyweight. That's not a small jump, that's a complete transformation. Years of pro fighters spend adjusting to that kind of size. The time away, legal issues, life, it all added up. He gained power, sure. But he lost speed, he lost conditioning, he lost that explosive edge. Still, the confidence was there. Fans were locked in. Analysts called it a routine win. Blueface walked in like it was just another step on the way to something bigger. Round 1, he looked sharp, used his reach, controlled the distance, landed the cleaner shots, exactly what everyone expected. Then round 2 happened. His opponent marched forward, closed the gap, started ripping to the body, and boom. That one exchange sent Blueface crashing into the ropes and tumbling out of the ring. Officially, not a knockdown. Unofficially, the internet decided it was lights out. From that moment, the fight changed. Confidence turned to hesitation. Control turned to survival. The streamer took over, poured on the pressure, backed him into corners, and forced mistake after mistake. By the final round, Blueface wasn't fighting to win anymore. He was fighting just to finish. He stayed on his feet, took the shots, survived all 6 rounds. But when the judges read the scorecards, unanimous decision for Chibu, the arena erupted, and so did the internet. The loss was bad enough. What came next turned it into straight controversy. Right there in the ring, in front of everybody, Blueface looked at the host and dropped the accusation that lit the whole thing on fire. He basically said the fight wasn't fair. He questioned the entire event. And just like that, the conversation exploded, pulling in rappers, boxers, streamers, and millions of fans overnight. Was it sour grapes? Or was there actually something to it? Either way, one thing's clear. What started as a simple comeback fight ended up being way bigger than boxing. The internet is still arguing, the clips are still circulating, and this drama, it's nowhere near over. Instead of walking away quietly like most fighters do after a tough loss, instead of giving the classic, "I'll be back stronger" speech and disappearing into the locker room, Blueface did something nobody saw coming. He stayed right there in the middle of the ring, cameras rolling, lights blazing, standing face to face with the man who put the entire event together, Adin Ross. What he said next didn't just shock the crowd inside the arena. It flipped the whole night upside down and sent shockwaves across the internet that are still echoing weeks later. At first, it looked like a standard post-fight interview. Adin stepped in, mic in hand, and asked the usual polite question to wrap things up. "Are we gonna see you back here on brand risk again?" Simple, routine, expected. But Blueface, he wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. Instead of nodding or giving some safe answer, he looked Adin dead in the eyes and dropped a line that sucked the air out of the entire building. "You know damn well you ain't gonna lose your own money on your own fight card." Silence. Not awkward laughter, not confusion, dead silence. Because everybody watching in the arena and millions tuning in live instantly understood exactly what he was accusing Adin Ross of. This wasn't just a fighter being salty about a loss anymore. This was a direct accusation that the fight, the scoring, maybe even the entire event wasn't on the level, that something behind the scenes smelled off. And Blueface didn't stop there. He doubled down right in the ring, saying he didn't agree with the unanimous decision at all, that the judges' scoring made zero sense, that the outcome felt completely wrong. Then he went even harder. Later, from his own stream in the locker room, he made it crystal clear, "I'll never fight on that platform again." That wasn't just frustration talking. That wasn't heat-of-the-moment emotion. That was a full-on public statement. And once those words left his mouth, the situation went from tough loss to straight-up explosive controversy in seconds. Accusing a promoter, especially one as big in the influencer boxing scene as Adin Ross, of manipulating outcomes or tampering with bets, that's not small talk, that's nuclear. Within minutes, the clips were everywhere. Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, every platform turned into a battlefield. Fans slowed down the audio, analyzed every word, every facial expression, every awkward pause from Adin. The focus instantly shifted from Blueface lost a fight to, was the whole card rigged? But here's where it got even wilder. Adin Ross didn't stay quiet. He responded immediately, right there in real time, looking shocked and defensive. "Never that," he said repeatedly, denying any manipulation, any tampering, anything shady whatsoever. He insisted the event was clean, the judges were fair, and nothing was controlled. Two completely different stories, two completely different versions of reality, and now the entire audience was forced to pick a side. The drama didn't end in the ring. As people started digging deeper into the full brand risk card that night in Miami, more questions popped up. It wasn't just Blueface's fight that raised eyebrows. Other bouts on the same card had controversial decisions too. Close fights that looked like they could have gone either way. Unexpected outcomes. Scorecards that left fans screaming at their screens. Suddenly, Blueface's accusation didn't feel like one sore loser crying foul. It started looking like it might be part of a bigger pattern. Even Adin Ross himself later admitted on stream that some of the judging on the card was suspect. Let that sink in. The promoter of the event basically saying, yeah, some decisions were questionable. Does that prove Blueface was right? No. But does it make thousands of people pause and think, wait, maybe he's onto something? Absolutely. Inside the ring, the footage told its own story. Chibu, the streamer making his boxing debut, came forward aggressively, pressured Blueface, targeted the body, and clearly controlled the later rounds. Blueface looked slower, heavier, and like he was fighting just to survive after that wild moment in round 2 where he got sent crashing through the ropes. But outside the ring, the conversation became something completely different. Social media exploded with debate. Did Blueface actually lose fair and square? Were the judges blind? Or was there something more going on with the scoring? Then the conversation took another turn. People started remembering what this fight was supposed to be in the first place. This wasn't meant to be a high-stakes war. This was supposed to be a tune-up, a warm-up, a confidence booster for Blueface before a much bigger, highly promoted matchup that was already announced and selling tickets. Instead, he took a clear, unanimous decision loss to a debutant. So now the big scary question hanging over everything. If he couldn't handle this easy fight, what's going to happen when he steps in against a real threat? Someone bigger, more experienced, more prepared. Suddenly, that next big fight didn't look like a golden opportunity anymore. It looked like a potential disaster waiting to happen. The pressure started mounting fast, not just from Salty fans and meme lords, but from the entire industry. Every move Blueface made now carried massive weight. Does he swallow the loss, stay quiet and move on? Does he keep doubling down on the accusations? Or does he pull out of the next fight entirely? Every single option came with heavy consequences. And the most dangerous part, once you make accusations like that in public, especially against someone like Adin Ross, you can't just take them back. The tension only escalates. Behind the scenes, things reportedly got ice cold. The relationship between Blueface and Brand Risk shattered. No more collabs, no more events, just silence, bad blood, and according to some reports, even talk of contract breaches, withheld payments, and massive fines being thrown around. The fallout didn't stop at the fight itself. It spilled over into Blueface's reputation, his future in influencer boxing, and how the world now perceives him. He wasn't just the guy who lost his comeback fight. He became the guy who stood in the ring and accused the promoter of rigging the whole thing. Whether that accusation is 100% true or not, it changed the narrative forever. But the internet, the internet took it to a whole new savage level. The second those post-fight clips hit the timeline, any chance of controlling the story vanished. Blueface wasn't just trending, he was getting absolutely dragged across every platform. The memes came faster than the punches in the fight. The clip of him getting rocked and tumbling through the ropes, on repeat, turned into GIFs, sound bites, jokes that hit harder than Chibu's body shots. Major names jumped in: rappers, streamers, boxing insiders, even people who barely follow the sport. The reactions were ruthless. One side was merciless. Bro got sent flying out the ring and still screaming, rigged. He dominated round 1, then got cooked. That wasn't a robbery, that was reality. Talk about sore loser energy. The other side wasn't letting it go either. Why were multiple fights on that card controversial? Even Adin admitted the judging was suspect. Maybe Blueface has a real point here. The divide made the noise even louder. The timeline became a war zone. Then the conversation leveled up when actual boxing experts started weighing in, people who have lived in the gym, not just influencers playing the sport. One voice in particular cut through all the chaos: Claressa Shields. When the undisputed champion speaks, people listen, and what she said didn't exactly help Blueface's case. She broke it down cold and honest. Public figures and celebrities thinking they can just jump into real fights need to spend at least 6 months in a serious gym first. Consistent, hard training, not just flexing on social media. Translation: Blueface wasn't ready. The weight jumped to heavyweight after years away, the ring rust, the lack of proper preparation, it showed. Suddenly the narrative shifted again. It wasn't only about whether the fight was rigged. It became about preparation, discipline, ego versus reality, and the harsh difference between being a famous rapper and being a real fighter. Blueface's mom even clapped back at Claressa, but the point stuck with a lot of people. So where does this all leave us? A single post-fight interview in a Miami ring turned one boxing loss into one of the messiest controversies in recent influencer boxing history. Accusations of rigging, betting tampering, questionable judging, payment disputes, and bruised egos are still flying. The internet is still split, the memes are still popping, and the drama between Blueface and Adin Ross shows no signs of dying down. One thing is crystal clear. What was supposed to be a simple comeback tune-up fight became so much bigger than boxing. It became a full-blown soap opera that exposed the wild, unpredictable, and sometimes shady side of celebrity and influencer boxing. And trust me, this story is nowhere near finished. But here's where things get really interesting. Even while Claressa Shields was dropping that tough love criticism, she threw in a twist that left everyone scratching their heads. She admitted the fight was actually close. Yeah, she still thought the opponent, Big Boy Chibu, won, but she made it clear. It wasn't a total domination. It wasn't one-sided. It was competitive. And just like that, the debate got 10 times more complicated. Was this a clear, undeniable loss for Blueface? Or was it one of those fights that lives in the gray area? Not quite the robbery he claimed, but definitely not a blowout either. That gray zone, it kept the entire argument alive and breathing. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the situation was spiraling fast. This wasn't just hurting Blueface's image in the moment. It was threatening his entire future in the ring. Remember that big upcoming fight, the one that was already heavily promoted with tickets moving and hype building? Suddenly, it looked shaky. Fans started asking the tough questions out loud. Should this next fight even happen? If he steps in and takes another loss, his boxing credibility might be cooked for good. But if he pulls out, it looks like he's running scared. And in this influencer boxing world, backing down can be just as damaging as getting dropped. Then another layer of drama hit. Clips started surfacing showing tension even before the main event kicked off, arguments with security, frustration boiling over outside the arena. His own team, the people who were supposed to keep things calm and professional, got pulled right into the chaos. People began wondering, was everything already off from the jump? If the energy backstage was this messy, maybe that chaos carried straight into the ring and affected how the night played out. But the biggest twist came from a place nobody expected. Another rapper with real history stepped into the conversation, NLE Choppa. This wasn't random. These two already had old tension, a past beef that never fully died down. Now, with Blueface fresh off a tough loss and looking vulnerable, the timing was brutal. Choppa didn't just comment, he went straight for the throat. He publicly called Blueface out and challenged him to step up. Suddenly, the pressure wasn't just about bouncing back from one bad night. It was about defending his reputation against someone who'd been waiting for this exact moment to strike. Here's what makes this whole saga so wild. This loss doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's now tied to everything else in Blueface's world. The rivalries, the personal drama, the past controversies, the legal issues, the time away from the ring. One single night, one viral clip, one heated accusation in front of the cameras, and suddenly it's all connected. In today's internet age, that's all it takes. One moment can rewrite the entire narrative. No matter what Blueface does next, whether he doubles down, stays quiet, trains harder, or moves on, that clip of him getting sent through the ropes, the post-fight accusation, the unanimous decision loss, it's now permanently part of his story. And the craziest part, we still don't know how this ends. The reactions have already been intense. The memes are savage. The debates are endless. If it's this heated now, whatever comes next might push things to a whole new level. By this point, it wasn't just a fight anymore. It wasn't even just about Blueface losing to a boxing debutante. This had turned into a full-blown internet storm, the kind that sucks in everyone. Die-hard fans, casual critics, fellow rappers, actual boxers, and even people who had never watched a single round of boxing before. Once those clips went viral, especially that humiliating moment where he got rocked and flew through the ropes, there was no escaping it. It became the defining image, the endless replay, the meme template that wouldn't die. The comment section turned ruthless. One side didn't hold back. He trained with legends just to get tossed out the ring by a debut streamer. This wasn't a loss, this was a wake-up call. You can't scream "rigged" when you were getting pressured and outworked the whole second half of the fight. But the other side refused to let it go quietly. They dug deeper. Why were multiple fights on that card controversial? Why did even Adin Ross himself admit some of the judging looked suspect? Why did the scorecards feel so lopsided to so many people watching? And just like that, the internet split down the middle again. It stopped being only about skill and heart in the ring. It became about trust in the judges, trust in the promotion, trust in what millions of people actually saw with their own eyes. Once that kind of doubt creeps into the conversation, it spreads like wildfire. The reactions didn't stop with fans either. Inside the industry, people started speaking up, not always directly, but with subtle posts, cryptic captions, and lines that said just enough without naming names. One artist posted, "Some people step in the ring for clout, others step in ready." Another wrote, "You can't skip the process and expect championship results." The tone had shifted. This wasn't pure entertainment anymore. It felt like a public lesson, a warning about what happens when hype, ego, and shortcuts collide with real preparation. But then the conversation got uncomfortable. People started moving past the fight and digging into Blueface's personal life, the years away from the ring, the weight gain, the conditioning or lack of it, the lifestyle choices. Suddenly the loss wasn't just a bad night. It was being framed as a reflection of bigger issues. 3 years out, came back heavier, didn't look sharp, didn't look conditioned. All of it was being analyzed, dissected, and judged in real time. And in today's world, that kind of spotlight doesn't fade overnight. Inside the actual boxing community, the breakdowns were more technical and less emotional, but no less brutal. Fighters and trainers pointed out the obvious: the massive weight jump, the ring rust, the pacing problems, how Chibu's constant pressure flipped the momentum after round 1. Their conclusion was straightforward. Blueface got outworked. Not completely outclassed, but clearly outpressured and outlasted in the later rounds. Hearing that from people who live and breathe the sport, it hit different. Yet even with all the technical analysis, the controversy refused to die. Because that accusation, rigged, tampered, unfair, still hung heavy in the air. Until it gets properly addressed, it lingers. It poisons every conversation about the fight. Every time someone brings it up, they're not just talking about the performance anymore. They're talking about the possibility that something else was going on behind the scenes. And that possibility, it keeps the whole story alive and burning. But here's the most fascinating part right now. While the internet stays loud and chaotic, the people at the very center of it all have gone strangely quiet. No major follow-up statements, no big clarifications, just silence. And that kind of silence, it doesn't calm anything down, it makes everything worse. Because when there are no answers, people fill in the blanks themselves. Rumors grow, stories twist, narratives evolve, and the actual truth gets harder and harder to pin down. So the biggest question hanging over everything is simple. Why the silence? Is it smart strategy? Is it legal advice? Is there more drama brewing behind closed doors? Or is the situation still unfolding in ways we don't know yet? One thing is crystal clear: this isn't over, not even close. And if the reactions have been this wild already, whatever drops next might take the entire saga to a completely new level. Here's a more engaging, high-energy rewrite of the final section. It amps up the drama, tightens the pacing with shorter punches and longer suspenseful builds, adds vivid hooks, rhetorical questions, and that signature YouTube/TikTok storytelling flair while staying true to the real events. The March 14, 2026 brand risk card in Miami, the ropes moment, rigging accusations over bets, Aden's denials and fines, Clarissa's take, etc. But right now, the entire world is watching, waiting for Blueface's next move. Just when it felt like the drama had hit its peak, just when everyone thought they'd seen and heard it all, the story took a turn nobody saw coming. While the internet was busy arguing, memeing, and clowning the loss, a quieter detail started slipping through the noise. At first, it was easy to miss. It wasn't loud. It wasn't a viral clip, just whispers buried under the chaos. But once people started connecting the dots, everything shifted. Remember how the original opponent got pulled last minute? How the whole matchup suddenly felt rushed? Now insiders and fans are asking, was the replacement, streamer Chibu making his debut, really as green as everyone assumed? Some are claiming he'd been training longer than advertised, studying tape, preparing in the shadows for a moment exactly like this. If that's true, then this wasn't just a last-second swap. It was a trap dressed up as an easy tune-up. No hard proof yet, but the timing, suspicious as hell. Then came the second twist. Whispers about the judging weren't limited to Blueface's fight. Multiple bouts on the brand risk card that night had controversial scorecards, close decisions that looked off. Even Adin Ross himself later admitted some of the judging looked suspect. Suddenly, that bold accusation Blueface dropped in the ring. The one about Adin not losing his own money on his own card, about tampering with bets, started hitting different. What if there really was smoke, and maybe even fire? Again, no smoking gun evidence has dropped, but there's enough smoke to make millions of people wonder. And through all of it, one thing keeps standing out: the silence. Blueface hasn't dropped a full breakdown or detailed explanation. Just that one explosive moment in the ring, followed by radio silence. On the other side, Adin has stuck to short, firm denials. Never that, while reportedly hitting Blueface with a $100K fine for contract breaches, withholding payment, and refusing to retract the rigging claims. When both sides go this quiet, it usually means one of two things. Either everything that needed to be said has already been said, or there's way more they're not ready to reveal yet. And that second option, it's making everybody uneasy. Because if there are closed-door conversations, withheld money, legal threats, or unreleased footage still floating around, then what we saw on camera that night in Miami might only be the surface. Now the biggest question of all is staring everyone in the face. What about the next big fight? The one that was already promoted and selling tickets. The highly anticipated matchup that was supposed to be Blueface's real comeback stage. Is it still happening? If it does go ahead, every single eye will be glued to it. Not just to see if he wins, but to see how he responds under the microscope. Does he come back sharper, more focused, and more prepared than ever? Or does this loss, and all the baggage that came with it, follow him straight into the next ring? In boxing, momentum is everything. Right now, that momentum feels shattered. One more loss could turn this into a permanent label. But one big win. It could flip the entire narrative and turn this setback into just another chapter in a legendary comeback story. That's why this situation is so addictive. It's not over. It's still unfolding in real time. Every decision, every word, every training clip gets dissected. Every move is watched by millions. And the craziest part, we still don't know the full story. If even half the rumors swirling around the betting, the judging, the last-minute opponent switch, and the behind-the-scenes tension are true, then what really went down that night might look completely different than what the cameras showed. The biggest reveal could still be coming. So now the question is simple: what happens next? Will the truth finally come out? Or is this one of those stories that just keeps getting deeper the more you dig? One thing is 100% certain: this isn't over. And whatever drops next might be even bigger than the fight itself. Now it's your turn. After everything we just broke down, the viral ropes moment, the unanimous decision, the explosive accusation, the savage memes, Claressa Shields calling out the lack of prep, the split internet, and all the smoke around the card, there's still one thing nobody can fully agree on. What really happened that night in Miami? Do you think Blueface just took a clean L and couldn't handle it? Or do you believe there's actually something deeper going on behind the scenes, something we're only starting to see? Be honest in the comments. Was that moment he got sent through the ropes just a push, or the exact second the fight turned against him? If the judging really was suspect across multiple fights, does that change how you see the result? Or does the performance inside the ring still tell the real story? Go down right now and say it loud. Was Blueface robbed, or did he lose fair and square? Should he demand a rematch, or walk away from brand risk completely? And do you think that next big fight actually happens, or is it already in serious danger? Don't sit on the fence. Pick a side, because this debate is only getting louder. If you made it this far, you already know. This isn't just another viral boxing moment. This is one of those situations that keeps evolving. And trust me, if any new proof, leaked footage, or unexpected twist drops, we're breaking it down immediately. So smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next update might completely change everything you think you know about this.